Welcome. Today we're jumping into 2 Samuel chapter 13, and this chapter, it really takes us deep inside King David's own family. It's quite raw.
It is. It's not about, big battles or politics this time. This is intensely personal. We see some really devastating events unfold, revealing some deep-seated problems, you could say.
Absolutely. It involves manipulation, violence, and the consequences are just shattering for the household.
Right. And as we go through it, you'll see themes of, unchecked desire, betrayal, and this festering resentment that leads to revenge.
So let's set the scene a bit. Who are the main people involved here?
Okay, so you've got Amnon, who's one of David's sons.
Right.
Then there's Tamar. She's David's daughter, Amnon's half-sister, but importantly, she's the full sister of Absalom.
Absalom, another of David's sons. Got it.
And there's one more key figure, Jonadab. He's David's nephew, so Amnon's cousin and friend. The text calls him very shrewd.
Very shrewd. That sounds significant.
It definitely is. So the story kicks off with Amnon. He's completely consumed, apparently, by desire for Tamar.
To the point where it's making him physically ill.
Yeah, the text says he was distressed to the point of becoming ill because she was a virgin and seemed, inaccessible to him in any normal way.
Wow. That's quite an intense fixation.
It really is. And this is where Jonadab, the shrewd cousin, steps in. He notices Amnon looks terrible.
He asks him, what's wrong?
He does. Asks why the king's son is looking so haggard day after day, and Amnon actually confides in him, tells him about Tamar.
And Jonadab's reaction isn't exactly helpful, is it, given that shrewd description?
Not helpful at all. Instead of warning him off, he comes up with a plan, a pretty manipulative one.
Okay, what's the plan?
Jonadab tells Amnon, look, go lie down, pretend you're sick. When your father, King David, comes to see you, ask him to send Tamar.
Specifically Tamar.
Yes. Ask for her to come to your house, prepare some food right there in front of you, and then feed it to you from her hand.
That is incredibly specific and kind of creepy, knowing the intent. It sounds innocent, though, on the surface.
Exactly. A sick son wanting comfort. It plays right into David's likely concern for his son.
So Amnon goes along with this.
Immediately, he lies down, plays sick, David comes, just as Jonadab predicted.
And Amnon makes the request.
Yep. Asks for Tamar to come and make these specific cakes or bread for him.
And David, being a concerned father, agrees.
Seems so. He sends word straight to Tamar at the palace. Go to your brother Amnon's house and prepare food for him. No suspicion recorded anyway.
So Tamar goes, does what she's asked.
She does. Goes to Amnon's house, finds him lying down. She takes dough, kneads it, makes the special bread right there as he asked, bakes it.
She's just trying to be a dutiful sister, fulfilling the king's command.
Seems that way. She brings the pan over to serve him.
But he refuses to eat.
You're right. Then he orders everyone else out, send everyone away from me.
Okay, so the trap is sprung. He isolates her.
Completely. Once they're alone, he tells her, bring the food into the bedroom so I can eat from your hand there.
Into the bedroom. That's the final move into total privacy and vulnerability.
Yes. And as soon as she steps into the bedroom with the food, the pretense is over. He grabs her.
And says, come lie with me, my sister. Just like that. Brutal.
And Tamar's response. The text gives it quite clearly.
Oh, absolutely. She pleads with him. No, my brother, don't force me.
She appeals to morality, right? Such a thing should not be done in Israel.
Yes, she calls it a wicked thing, an outrageous thing. She points out the devastating consequences for her personally. What about me? Where could I get rid of my disgrace?
And she warns him, too, about his own reputation. You would be like one of the wicked fools in Israel.
It's a powerful, reasoned plea in a moment of terror. She even makes this desperate suggestion.
About speaking to the king. About marriage.
Yeah. Speak to the king. He won't withhold me from you. It shows she's thinking about societal structures, maybe grasping at straws, saying even that would be better than this violence.
But Amnon doesn't listen.
No, the text is blunt. But he would not listen to her voice. And being stronger than she, he overpowered her and lay with her. Just devastating. And then comes that really disturbing twist.
The immediate aftermath. It's shocking.
His feelings just reverse.
Completely. The text says, then Amnon hated her with very great hatred. It even emphasizes it. The hatred with which he hated her was greater than the love with which he had loved her.
That sudden shift from obsessive love or desire to intense hatred is deeply unsettling.
It really is. It shows how little actual care or respect was involved. It was purely selfish gratification, and once that was done, all that was left was contempt.
And his next words to her are just cruel.
Horrifyingly so. Get up. Get out.
No remorse, no nothing. Just dismissal.
And Tamar protests again, doesn't she? She points out that throwing her out like this is actually making things worse.
Yeah, this wrong in sending me away is greater than the other that you did to me.
It adds public shame to the private violation.
But Amnon's done listening. He just calls his servant.
And tells him to throw her out.
Put this woman out of my presence now and bolt the door after her. Lock her out. Get rid of the evidence, essentially. And Tamar's departure. It's described very vividly.
It is. She puts ashes on her head, a sign of mourning or distress.
Tears her robe. And it mentions it was a special robe, right?
Yes, a richly ornamented robe, the kind the king's virgin daughters wore. Tearing it is symbolic of her ruined status.
Then puts her hand on her head, another gesture of grief, and just goes away crying aloud.
Her devastation is public, visible, undeniable.
Which leads us to the reactions of others. Her brother Absalom sees her like this.
Right, and his reaction is interesting and chilling in retrospect.
He asks her, has Amnon, your brother, been with you? Seems rhetorical given her state.
Pretty much. And then he tells her, be quiet now, my sister. He's your brother. Don't take this thing to heart.
Don't take this thing to heart. That sounds incredibly dismissive. Or is it something else?
It reads like he's telling her to suppress it, to keep it quiet, perhaps while he figures out what to do. It's not really comfort, is it? More like damage control or maybe plotting.
And what happens to Tamar after this?
The text says she lived in her brother Absalom's house, a desolate woman. Just desolate. Her life fundamentally altered, ruined.
And King David, what's his reaction when he hears?
He was furious. That's what the scripture says. Very angry.
But does he do anything? The text doesn't mention any immediate action against Amnon, does it?
It doesn't. It notes his anger, but not any specific judgment or punishment meted out by him at this point.
Which brings us back to Absalom. His reaction is crucial.
Absolutely critical. It says, Absalom never said a word to Amnon, either good or bad.
Silence.
Total silence towards Amnon, but internally. He hated Amnon because he had disgraced his sister Tamar.
This goes on for how long?
2 full years. 2 years of silence and simmering hatred.
That's a long time to hold on to something like that. It feels planned.
Exactly. It's not impulsive anger. It's a deep grudge, festering, waiting for the right moment.
Which eventually comes. The text jumps forward 2 years.
Yes. 2 years later, Absalom is holding a sheep-shearing festival.
Up in a place called Baal Hazor. These festivals were often big celebratory events, right?
Yeah. Lots of food, wine, a gathering. A perfect cover, perhaps.
And Absalom uses this festival to set his trap. How does he do it?
He starts by inviting King David and all the royal officials.
Knowing David would likely decline.
Probably. It was a long way, a big entourage, and David does decline, offers his blessing instead.
And then Absalom makes his move?
Then he presses David, well, if you're not coming, please let my brother Amnon go with us.
David hesitates at first, asks why Amnon should go.
He does. Why should he go with you? But Absalom insists, keeps urging him.
Until David caves.
Yeah, David finally agrees and sends Amnon. And not just Amnon, but all the other king's sons, too.
So Amnon is there, surrounded by his brothers, but at Absalom's place, under Absalom's control.
Precisely. And Absalom has already given his men very specific instructions.
What were the orders?
He told them, watch Amnon when his heart is merry with wine.
Wait until he's drunk and vulnerable.
And when I say to you, strike Amnon, then kill him. Cold-blooded.
Does he say anything to reassure his men? Killing the king's eldest son is a huge deal.
He does. He says, don't be afraid. Haven't I commanded you? Be strong and brave. He takes full responsibility.
And the plan works.
Perfectly. Absalom gives the signal. His men attack Amnon and kill him.
And the other brothers, what do?
Absolute panic. They immediately jump on their mules and flee for their lives. Scatter.
Understandable. Meanwhile, news gets back to David in Jerusalem. But it's wrong initially.
Yeah, the initial report is even worse than the reality. The word that reaches David is, Absalom has struck down all the king's sons, not one of them is left.
Oh, wow, he thinks he's lost almost all his sons in one go.
Imagine hearing that. David's reaction is instantaneous grief. He stands up, tears his clothes, throws himself on the ground. His servants tear their clothes too. Complete devastation.
But then Jonadab reappears, the shrewd cousin again.
Yes, Jonadab steps in to correct the report. He tells David, don't think they've killed all the young men, the king's sons. Only Amnon is dead.
How does Jonadab know?
He says this was Absalom's plan all along. This has been Absalom's determined purpose, he says, since the day Amnon violated his sister Tamar. He basically confirms it was targeted revenge.
So Jonadab knew about Absalom's hatred, maybe even the plot. His shrewdness cuts both ways.
It seems likely he understood the depth of Absalom's anger, yes. He assures David again, only Amnon is dead.
And then they get confirmation.
Right then, the watchman spots a group of people coming. Jonadab says, look, the king's sons are arriving. It's just as I said.
So the remaining sons arrive, probably traumatized.
They come in wailing loudly, and then David and all his servants join in the weeping. The relief that not everyone is dead is mixed with the grief for Amnon and the horror of it all.
And Absalom, where is he in all this?
He's already fled. The text says he went to Geshur, to his mother's father, Talmai, the king there. He stays in exile.
For how long?
3 years. He remains in Geshur for 3 years.
And David stayed after this. He mourned Amnon.
Yes, it says he mourned for his son every day. But interestingly, after those 3 years pass,
His feelings start to shift.
the text notes that King David longed to go out to Absalom because he was consoled concerning Amnon's death. The grief for Amnon eventually lessens, and a longing for his exiled son begins.
Wow. What a chain of events. When you lay it all out, Amnon's initial act enabled by Jonadab.
David inadvertently facilitating it, leading to the horrific rape and Tamar's devastation.
Amnon's cruel rejection afterwards. Absalom's calculated, silent rage building for years.
And then the violent public revenge, followed by exile, more grief. It just spirals.
It says so much about power within that family, the consequences of desire when it's completely unchecked, and the devastating nature of vengeance.
Definitely. And you see such different reactions to trauma. Tamar's shame and utter desolation. David's fury turning into grief and eventual longing. Absalom's cold, patient hate erupting into murder.
It really paints a picture of a deeply fractured family dynamic, doesn't it? These events don't just happen in isolation. They clearly set the stage for more conflict down the line.
Absolutely. The unresolved trauma, the injustice felt by Absalom, the way vengeance was pursued instead of, say, justice from the king, it all creates wounds that fester.
That 2-year silence from Absalom, followed by such decisive violence, is particularly stark. Holding on to that kind of hate, it clearly consumed him.
And ultimately led to his own exile, separation from his father and kingdom. The consequences ripple outwards.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into 2 Samuel 13, maybe a thought to leave with you, the listener, is about those ripples. Think about how violence, trauma, and especially unresolved hurt or the pursuit of personal vengeance can echo through families, through communities. How do those choices reshape everything that comes after, sometimes for generations? It's a heavy question raised by this incredibly powerful chapter.